and I'll be your moderator and presenter for this event. Thank you all for joining us today. Whether you're a food producer, a tourism professional, an educator, a student, or a partner, we're truly excited that you're here. Let me begin with a brief presentation and introduction to the Food Zone project. Food Zone is an international initiative focused on empowering owners and managers of food SMEs by enhancing their green, blue, digital, and entrepreneurial skills. The goal is to support the development of more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient food and tourism ecosystems, especially in rural areas. But it's more than just skill development. Food Zone is about building real bridges between the education, agriculture, food, and tourism sectors, and helping to create meaningful, regenerative food tourism experiences. The project also plays a vital role in digital transformation, offers new learning opportunities, and foster collaboration between key players in the food, tourism, and education sectors. Who is this for? Our work reaches a broad network from SME owners, startups, and hospitality professionals to educators, students, and organizations involved in culture, food innovation, and regeneration. Today, we're bringing all these voices together. What you can expect. Here's a quick overview of the program. We'll start with a closer look at the results and the impact of the Food Zone project. Then we'll explore best practices and in regenerative food tourism, along with the main challenges and barriers that come with it. We'll introduce you to Food Zone Incubator, an exciting initiative supporting new ideas and innovation. Next, we'll share insights on collaboration and community and regenerative tourism policy recommendations. And finally, we'll wrap up with a call to action and presentation of our manifesto, followed by a short conclusion. The webinar will run until approximately 12 o'clock, and we encourage you to stay with us for the full journey. There's a lot to be inspired by. Before we begin, just a quick note. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to write them in the question and answer section, which you'll find at the bottom of your Zoom window. We'll do our best to address them during the dedicated discussion time or at the end of the session. And now, to officially begin, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the day, Elena Chapa de la Peña from Dome, Spain, who will guide us through the Food Zone project's key results and the impact it has made so far. Elena, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yanya. So I am Elena from Dome, Spain. We are a vocational center and adult education center in Reus, the northeast of Spain, in Catalonia. And I will talk about the results that were created in the framework of this project. So what we wanted to achieve our goal was twofold: to provide tools for small businesses, for educators, and for professionals in the agri-food sector on the one hand, and on the other, to raise awareness on the benefits of regenerative tourism, and in particular, regenerative tourism applied to food. As food is a huge part of a region's identity, and food shapes, obviously, cultural identity and the way people experience the place. So what you're seeing on the screen is the collection of all the results that we have created that are available on our website. They will be available on our website soon. They are not all updated. That has to be said. But I'll start with the first result that we created was the best practices in regenerative food tourism. And if there we are, excuse me. Regenerative tourism and best practices. This is a collection of 70 examples of regenerative tourism experiences, meaning we analyze 70 successful initiatives that integrate food production and tourism while respecting local ecosystems, preserving cultural heritage, and these initiatives support the local community at the same time. These examples provide inspiration for businesses looking to transition towards regenerative practices. The second result we've created was a report on the challenges and barriers. This report was compiled through an analysis of information from 28 interviews, and this needs to be updated 111 mini surveys with agri-food SMEs across partner countries, which are Spain, Slovenia, Cyprus, France, Portugal, and Montenegro, and we identified key barriers that prevent small producers from engaging in the tourism sector, as well as other opportunities for them to leverage. So our next result, this is again all available on the website food-zone.eu. In this case, I'm talking about the training course, the online course. This is a course for higher education and vet education, both educators and students, my bad, in agri-food, in tourism, in hospitality, in agriculture, as well as interested SMEs that want to learn about, for example, the difference between sustainability and regeneration, virtual food tourism experiences, inclusive food tourism experiences, how to communicate, if you are an SME, how to communicate a message to attract potential visitors, how to create better partnerships, among other topics. These are compiled in the 7 modules that were created for this course. The online course also includes quizzes, case studies, and other interactive elements. And then continuing the regenerative guide, this is a framework for creating food tourism experiences that restore local ecosystems and strengthen rural economies. And now continuing the guidelines for educators that go hand in hand with the online course. This is just a tool for educators to guide on the use of the course materials, also available on the website. And then continuing, in the framework of the project, we have had a call to action or advocacy campaign, and including or initiatives included in this campaign were a manifesto and policy recommendations. I won't dwell on the manifesto because this will be further explained throughout the webinar, but I just want to say that this manifesto entails 10 principles that promote regenerative and regenerative rural food and tourism ecosystems through a mindset shift. In this case, collaboration, education, and policy advocacy. And the policy recommendations, this is a document that was created, or this is a compilation of recommendations aimed at educators, public authorities, chambers of commerce, DMOs, and other business organizations to create an enabling environment for regenerative food tourism at the local and European level. So these are our results, but now I want to talk about food zone and numbers. So in order to collect the challenges and barriers report, we engaged with SMEs, agri-food SMEs, and food tourism SMEs. This resulted in the challenges and barriers report. Well, obviously, these SMEs were from across Spain, Slovenia, Cyprus, France, Portugal, and Montenegro. So it's a big sample. And we identified or detected barriers in financing, administration, communication, and human resources, among other things. all of this information, again, is in the challenges and barriers document available on our website. Finally, I just want to say that 70 food SMEs were engaged in the best practices collection. And we have had so far 119 participants in regional events. This was the piloting of the online training course, the Regenerative Food Tourism training course. And finally, 50 participants so far have participated in other promotional webinars in the framework of the project. So I will go back to a slide that shows our website. It's food-zone.eu. You can visit us, and I hope these resources are useful to you. And I hope with these resources we raise more awareness in regenerative food tourism. So, Janja, I'm just going to stop the remote control. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena, also for that insightful presentation and for walking us through the key outcomes and real-world impact of the Food Zone project. Before we move on, we'd like to hear from you. We're launching a quick poll with the question, which Food Zone resource do you consider more useful to you? You should see the poll pop up on your screen in just a moment. Now you should see it. And I kindly ask you to answer it. There are multiple questions. There are multiple choice you can answer. I'll wait a few seconds and then I will show you the results. Thank you very much for participating. Your feedback is really very valuable to us and it helps us better understand what's most useful for you and your work. Okay. Maybe all of you who haven't answered yet, could you select your choice? Well, I guess this is it. I guess best practices and regenerative guide and training materials seems to be the most useful resources. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to take a closer look at some practical examples. Just a second. Regenerative food tourism experiences and best practices from across Europe. These stories showcase how theory turns into action and how innovation can take root in local communities. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speakers from the University of Aveiro in Portugal, Filipa Brandão and Marlene Amorim. Joining them today is a special guest, Ms. Ana Vinagre, manager of the renowned Portuguese restaurant O Palco. She will be sharing their inspiring journey and the regenerative practices they've implemented within their culinary experience. We're thrilled to have all three of them with us. Please join me in welcoming Filipa, Marlene, and Ana.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be able to talk with such a diverse audience from many countries around the world. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what is regenerative tourism and regenerative tourism, how can we implement these practices, what are the main benefits that we can obtain by implementing regenerative practices in our businesses. So As you have seen, the main goal of this project was to help local small food producers to enter the tourism ecosystem through regenerative food tourism experiences. But what is regenerative tourism? Recently, the world, as you know, and as we see every day in the news, is going to several changes, transformative changes in many different areas of our society. Political, economic, social, technological, environmental. So we need this change. We need to introduce changes, innovative changes to address and reverse the bad or undesired impacts of economic activity in our world. So regarding this, there is an increasing awareness about the impacts that the tourism industry has. This is a discussion that has been made for several years now, and we have been talking about sustainable tourism. But at some point, we have realized that sustainability is not enough. The paradigms of sustainability are not enough to achieve a better world and a sustainable or a good tourism industry. So we need new development paradigms at all levels of society, especially in tourism. And these new paradigms, they must urge decision makers, communities, and businesses to adopt innovative mindsets based on the paradigm of regeneration. So, what is regenerative tourism? Regenerative tourism is believed to move beyond sustainability. So it focuses not on minimizing negative impacts and maximizing positive impacts, but it focuses on leaving tourists, and tourism development should leave the places better than they were before. Tourists must leave the destinations better than that they found them, okay? So regenerative tourism activities, they can revitalize and regenerate tourism destinations by creating a cycle of long-lasting positive impacts on the community, economy, local culture, biodiversity through regenerative travel experiences. It is based on an holistic, and not organic, but an holistic view and understanding that the future of tourism includes mandatorily local communities, natural environments, and the commitment of visitors and tourists on the preservation and protection of several dimensions: natural, social, and economic. So this concept of regenerative tourism is based on a notion of community and place-based or place-centered tourism development. So we have here, how can we go beyond sustainability? So we have here a small comparison between these two concepts. And in your right-hand side, you have an upgrade of sustainable tourism. So regenerative tourism has a very specific objective. It goes beyond sustainability, looking to restore and regenerate the environment, economy, and local communities, creating these long-lasting positive impacts. And not only as sustainability wants to maintain a balance between positive and negative impacts, needs of tourists and preservation of environment. So it needs to go beyond this. Emphasizes, in terms of focus, it emphasizes the restoration and regeneration of ecosystems, local communities, biodiversity. It focuses also on climate resilience and the social well-being, and not only on reducing the damages caused by tourism. Actions are focused on, for instance, reforestation, regenerative agriculture linked to tourism, and community empowerment. And the impact is long-lasting. It always has a positive balance, and it will, in fact, restore and regenerate the destination instead of only maintaining the status quo as it was observed in the previous approach of sustainable tourism. So, By focusing on people and their potential, regenerative tourism is, in fact, a powerful tool to include minorities, to promote the development and empower of social, economic, and culturally marginalized or disadvantaged groups. And tourism can, in fact, if adopting this approach, this regenerative approach, generate concrete opportunities to combat poverty, inequality, and discrimination. So what role does the food play in this approach? So regenerative tourism will focus on balancing local culture, natural ecosystems, hosts and guests' interests, and it will improve the local community in an holistic manner, leaving the place better than it was before. As you know, destinations, the many different regions of the world, have a distinct culinary heritage that are based or are behind unique and meaningful gastronomic experiences. This regenerative food tourism allows to discover a place through the cuisine, while building meaningful connections and a deeper understanding and preservation of this local culture. Farm-to-table experiences are crucial because they rely on local resources and they contribute to local economy. They also allow to shorten the supply chain, okay? And we will have Ana Vinagre, our invited guest, which is a very concrete example of this farm-to-table experiences and the shortening of supply chain that will help local producers, growers, fishermen, and it will also reduce waste, contribute to less greenhouse gases, and reduce also the carbon footprint. Embracing regenerative tourism experiences by the tourism firms or firms within tourism ecosystem has several benefits. Socially, we can assure the well-being of local people and visitors, engage local community in traditional activities, raise awareness about regenerative practices, promote sustainable livelihoods, the connection between visitors and locals, include locals in tourism activities. This will increase the sense of the community of belonging locally and their identity. It can include minorities, and it also promotes volunteering. But the benefits are not only social, but also economic. The most important benefit that we observed while developing our best practices collection and interviews we did with our partners, we found the importance of revitalizing an old or traditional economic activity, bringing that activity into the tourism ecosystem. It also allows to create local jobs, boost local economy, dynamize local tourism, develop other activities, create tourism networks by establishing partnerships within the region, contribute to other businesses to become regenerative, and foster local entrepreneurship. It also has, it also has environmental benefits. It allows to restore natural resources, all the ecosystem and biodiversity, promote and use local organic products, regenerate nature, soils, wildlife, implement regenerative agriculture, and reduce the carbon footprint by shortening the supply chain. Culturally, it will regenerate cultural heritage or traditional practices, and it help to preserve traditional ancient knowledge and skills. So, myriad of benefits that tourism businesses can find by adopting regenerative practices. So to illustrate this approach, I will make a small presentation, a brief presentation. We collected, as you have seen, a huge number of best practices around Europe and the world. I will present two of them. So how can we bring local food producers or local food products into the tourism ecosystem through these regenerative food-based tourism experiences? So the first best practice comes from Slovenia. from pumpkin to oil. This is the story of a family oil mill with a lasting tradition. This family preserves the traditional processing of pumpkin seed oil since 1929. They are regenerative because they preserve cultural heritage. It is a third generation family business. It provides a multi-sensory visitor experience, such as guided tours of the oil mills, hands-on the exploration of production. It offers culinary tastings of local dishes, such as the use of the seed oil in Slovenian cuisine. It offers tasting sessions. It adopts or implements this regenerative food tourism by preserving cultural heritage and also sustainable tourism practices. It is an owner-led experience that enhances credibility and engagement because it is based on authenticity and it has a strong role of the storytelling attached. It provides emotional connection with visitors and cultural understanding. It establishes partnerships with local farmers and suppliers, and this is the basis of the business. And at the same time that it focuses on innovating and developing the product by offering regenerative practices and expanding the business this way. So I invite you to check our website, the website of the project. You can find this experience or this best practice in more detail, as well as many others. I will also present the Visita Guiada a los Casañeros. This one is located in Spain, particularly in Cáceres. They have a cheese-based product in Alcázar. So here you can, in this guided tour, you can explore authentic cheese-making tradition. You can taste a variety of 10 different cheeses, which are innovative because in Extremadura, this region, it is not common to mix goat, sheep, and cow's milk. So this experience is unique and authentic. It is regenerative by offering guided tours based on an educational experience, bringing insights into these cheese manufacturing traditional methods. It preserves the natural techniques, maintains regional cheese-making heritage. It also presents, or it is a showcase for the distinctive practices in Extremadura's cheese production, demonstrating the regional uniqueness of this product. It is also based on authenticity and cultural heritage, preserving these traditions. It creates local jobs, supports the community through sustainable employment. It chooses quality over quantity. So we move away from mass production to focus on niche tourism based on quality experiences. Also values a unique product that drives local productivity, and this way it boosts local economy, and it also has a strong cultural impact, and it is based on sustainable production, balancing heritage preservation with economic growth. So these are two practices among the many dozens that we collected, and we invite all of you to enter our website, click on Incubator Best Practices, and you can select according to the type of business that you want or the region of the world. So now I will give the floor to my colleague, Marlene. Just let me see if she's here. I'll ask you just for a couple of minutes. So I think she's having some problems with the internet, but I will take the floor if needed. So she's having some troubles with the internet. So I'm taking the floor and she will move from another place and she will join us as possible. So today we have the pleasure of welcoming Ana Vinagre. Ana, I think you are already here.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes. Hello, Ana.
Sorry,
Good
there's
morning.
here. Good morning.
Okay, good morning, Ana. So it is our pleasure to welcome Ana. Ana is the manager of the restaurant here in Portugal called O Palco, which means the stage. So this is a regenerative restaurant, and they focus on offering a stage that brings to life the favorite characters, which are our national ingredients. They assume that they work or what they do every day in the restaurant are rehearsals that begin at each local producer and give life to a show on the main stage. Ana, thank you so much for being here with us today and for accepting our invitation. This restaurant was one of our best practices, and let me say it's one of my favorite ones. So I will ask Ana to make a brief presentation of this project. What motivated you to embrace this type of approach? You are more than sustainable. You are in fact regenerative, and to talk to us a little bit about what you do every day and to highlight the sustainable practices that you implement. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting us. So basically, the stage, so Palco, was a project that was born during the pandemic. So me and Marco, so is my partner at this project, we were at home and considering what to do after the pandemic, and we just decided to start with our project. And the main idea was to have something that would allow us to keep on working if there was a second pandemic, for instance. So something that you could be using the same products, doing the same thing without having a big supply chain. Okay, so the best idea was to start looking for local producers and the smaller ones, since we wanted to help them also to grow with us. So basically, we do have a chain, I don't know at this moment, but dozens of small producers, and they are all located in less than 90 kilometers of distance. Okay, so we started, for you to have an idea, we started with an olive oil that was from Oliveira do Hospital, so that was the furthest supplier that we had. And from that, we just wanted to reduce the distance from each other. So at this moment, we are working in less than 50 kilometers medium distance. So the idea was not only to have suppliers that were closer to us and smaller suppliers, but also someone that was practicing, forgive me about this, but good practices, good environmental practices. So we always check how they are doing the things. So we don't care if they are certified. We just want to know that they do the things on the correct way. Okay. So in here, we try to reduce, of course, the carbon footprint. We try to compost all the organic wastes at the restaurant. We resell the leftovers. We work with tasting menus, so we don't have that much leftovers. But even though we have some, so we work with the Too Good To Go, for instance. We try to use only biodegradable materials, to buy things without boxes, without bags. So we try to keep it in the simplest way possible. Okay? As for our clients, we do have a lot of Portuguese clients, of course, and that is something, it's a market that is growing. At the beginning, it was a bit complicated to explain people why we serving snails, for instance. So we had a dish made out of snails, and people were kind of, okay, why? Because it's something that people are not using. So why would we present you a beef if there were more snails than cows to be served? And even environmental speaking, it's way better one than other. So we do have Portuguese clients, but most of all, we have Americans, Brazilians, and North European clients. So we can tell that those clients come with a purpose. So they really want to know the project. They are concerned about the practices that we are applying in here. And usually they book with like 2 months in advance, which is crazy. Some people tell us that they first book the restaurant because of the experience and just then go to search for an hotel and other activities.
Oh, that's great. So you are an attraction. More
yes, we do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, for clients that are interested in this kind of proposals, yes, we are the attraction in the city, which is quite interesting. So our goal with this project is to have a near zero environmental impact. Of course, it's quite impossible to make it, but we are now growing our own garden 8 kilometers away from the restaurant. So that's just a start. And I'm pretty sure that in 1 or 2 years, we'll be able to work only with things from less than, I would say, 20 kilometers. That would be the perfect thing.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on your mindset, because more than your main motivation was not to make something first to make money, and then I will be sustainable to attract. So your main motivation was to have in fact an impact on the local economy and in the world, a positive impact in the world. And obviously that money is a very important motivator in any business, but it wasn't your main motivation. So you are indeed pretty ahead of our time, and you already adopted this mindset in your daily operations. And I think that every restaurant should look at your practices and try to adopt, if not all, at least some. You talked, Anna, about your customers, and you highlighted international, your main markets or main clients. What about the Portuguese?
Portuguese people are an interesting study case. So we do have.
They go there?
Sorry?
They go to your restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. We do have Portuguese customers. We do have people from our city, of course, we always have. But we can tell that the motivation for the locals, it's quite different from the motivation from the international guests. Okay. So for you to have an idea, as I was telling you, the international guests come because of the project, the philosophy. The Portuguese customers come because of the quality. And after that comes the philosophy. Okay. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes.
So first, it is a good restaurant, and then it works with local products. That's what I feel about the Portuguese clients, or at least from some of them. Of course, then we do have clients that come here because they know the story and how do we work, and they come because of that. But the majority of them, first because of quality, and then the philosophy. Okay. The international guests, it's the reverse. Always because of the philosophy. So they go into our website, they see all the videos that we make with our producers. They already know that we don't sell, for instance, wine that is not from less than 40 kilometers. So they already know all these things. And then they go to the normal pages like TripAdvisor or something to check if it's a good restaurant, and they decide to come. The Portuguese people, it's quite a reverse. We can tell that we were recommended by Michelin last year for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I would say that in the first month after that, we only had, well, not only, but 90% of our customers were Portuguese. Okay. And they came not because they knew what we were doing in here, but because we had that red stamp outside our door. So the motivation is different. It's not worse than bad or better. It's just different.
Okay. So we still have a long walk in Portugal, in this case, to create some awareness around the importance of what the choices that we make when we consume products, and to select more sustainable choices.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know if we have any question from our attendees. If someone has a question for Anna, please, you can write in our chat. While we wait for questions, Anna, I have a question that I would like to ask you. So in this project, one of the outputs was the identification of challenges and barriers to implement regenerative practices, okay, or sustainable practices, as you wish. What are the main challenges or barriers that you find in your daily operations, in your business, in your business model? Can you identify some?
Sure. So some of the difficulties that we found. So as we work only with small producers, they are not used to have like rules to work. For instance, we start our week on a Thursday, so we do need to have the first fresh products on a Thursday morning. And some of them were like, well, they work in a zero stress zone. So you can't tell them that you need your products until 10 a.m. It's impossible.
Okay.
They will pick them from 10 a.m. and then they will deliver at some point of your day. So that was the most difficult part, to tell them that they have to start to have some rules in order to grow. Okay. Then, of course, that is related to seasonality. You are working with some product that at some point it will just finish, and you have to adapt things very quickly. And that was hard at the beginning. Now it's easier, of course, we are more used to it. But in the beginning, it was hard. Imagine telling the chef, well, do you want beetroot? Sorry, there's no beetroots anywhere. No one is doing it. So that was a second challenge. So we had to get used to work only with what there was on the gardens, and tell them that they had to give us what we need at a certain point of our day. Then, of course, the delivers, for instance. So you work in a small range, but even though some of them do not have ways to deliver things. Okay, so for instance, we have worked with lupin beans with tremoço, and the lady couldn't deliver the tremoço in Coimbra. So to get those beans, we would actually had to make, I would say 40 something kilometers just to get like 5 kilos of tremoço, because she wouldn't be able to deliver it in Coimbra. So we actually had to build all the chain to be able to work with them. So it would be quite easier to call to a company and tell them, well, please bring everything to me, and I'm just here waiting for it. See, I believe that is the biggest challenge, to build up all the chain, all the network, to work with these small producers, because it's not a bad thing. They are just not used to work.
It's different. Yes.
Yeah, it's just a different way of working. And some of them were just selling for the neighbors or families, yes, or to the local markets, and not to something that had some rules and some expectations for them.
And a business structure that requires exactly compromising. Do you believe that improving their skills, these food producer skills, digital skills, green skills, business skills, would be a good measure in terms of, so for instance, offering training, giving them some training in business overall, digital tools or innovation or whatever would be important to make regenerative initiatives thrive or prosper?
Yes, I think it's quite important because if they learn how to work with all of those tools, they would again improve their own business, and that will give us more ways to work with them and other clients for them.
Okay.
So we do work, for instance, with a marketing company. They do our marketing, and they always go with us for the first time to all of our producers and make a video with them. And they also offered to help them on that. So to the small producers, they gave some digital tools. They actually weren't charging for anything. They were just helping them, because that was quite important for these small producers. Otherwise, they will continue selling to the local markets, and instead of earning, I don't know, 100 euros a day, they would earn 10 euros a day. And that's the big. And when you are earning 10 euros a day, after 1 month, you'll just give up. You don't continue. And that's not what we want. We want them to grow. And that's why we also advise our customers, especially the local ones, to go there and to meet them and to buy things directly to them. So
that's fantastic, Anna. Well, I have no words to describe what a pleasure was to have you with us. And to congratulate you and Marco for your project, your initiative. And for sure, I still didn't, but I will visit you soon to taste your wonderful food. I've already checked the menus online, so I'm very excited. And I would like to invite everyone here in Portugal and from around the world that are present to go visit this restaurant in Coimbra. It's also a very beautiful destination. And Anna, I wish you the best of luck for your business and that you will be able to spread this way of operating in the tourist market all around your partners and whoever listening. Thank you so much for joining us and for the valuable lessons that you brought us today. Thank you.
thank you, Filipa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yanya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Filipa and Anna, for those inspiring examples of how regenerative food tourism is already being implemented in practice. It's encouraging to see how local initiatives, when guided by the right values and supported by collaboration, can create a real impact. As we've seen, these success stories don't happen without overcoming certain hurdles. That brings us to our next topic, the main challenges and barriers that professionals and organizations face when building regenerative food tourism experiences. To guide us through this part, I'm pleased to welcome Zvonimir Dobravcic from the municipality of Tivat in Montenegro. Zvonimir will share insights into the obstacles encountered on the ground, from policy limitations to local community engagement, and how we might begin to overcome them. Zvonimir, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Dear participants and dear colleagues, allow me to greet you all on behalf of the municipality of Tivat, Montenegro. I will tell you a little more about building regenerative tourism experience, which brings with it several challenges and barriers. Okay. Can you, Anya, put me the remote? Sorry, the remote control don't working. Okay. I'm going to speak you now about the challenges. Resource sustainability. Regenerative gastronomic tourism is based on the restoration and the preservation of local resources, such as land, water, and biodiversity. That means that carefully management of nature resources is crucial, which can be difficult in regions that already have problems with overuse of resource and land degradation. Education and changing consequences. One of the great challenges is educating both tourists and the local producers about the values of regenerative tourism. It is necessary to work on raising awareness about importance of preserving ecosystems and ethical food production, which is not always easy, especially in regions dominated by traditional or industrial approaches to agriculture. Integration with the local communities. Regenerative tourism must be aligned with the interests and needs of local communities. This involves building partnerships with the farmers, food producers, and other stakeholders, but also overcoming potential resistance from those accustomed to traditional methods of commercial practices. High cost and investments. Starting regenerative food tourism requires significant investments, both in education and infrastructure, and its development as sustainable practice. For many small producers and tourism in smaller markets, this can be a serious financial challenge. The long-term payback period can be demotivating for investors. Recognizing and certifying regenerative practice. Certification and verification of regenerative methods can be complex and expensive process, and there are different standards and methodologies that can lead to confusion and uncurrently in the industry. The lack of clear guidelines and accordance make it difficult to implement regenerative practice on a global scale. Changing habit and expectation of a tourist. Although regenerative tourism is increasingly recognized, many tourists still prefer more commercial and more accessibility form of tourism, creating experiences that are engaging in educational and sustainable requires creativity and engagement in developing new formats that meet the needs of tourists, but also bring long-term value to the ecosystem. Logistical challenges. Coordination between different actors, including food producers, restaurant tourism agencies, and other services can be challenging, especially in rural areas. Infrastructure may be insufficient in support of sustainable practice, such as local food distribution, environmental friendly transport, and recycling. Legislative and police change. Legal and political soft scale can also be a significant barrier. In many countries, regulation and subsidies are still great over industrial agriculture practices, while regenerative approaches are not always recognized or supported by legislators. Then I will introduce you with the barriers. Janja, if you can move, I cannot. Thank you. Starting up regenerative food tourism require intentional investment and long-term financial resource, while the return of investment can be slow. As a result, small producers and local tourists can be resistant to change that involve additional cost and uncertain economic outcomes. Lack of infrastructure. Regenerative tourism often requires specific infrastructure and supports ecological and sustainable practice, such as environmental friendly transport, waste collection and recycling, or sustainable food distribution. In many rural areas where the tourism is most needed, infrastructure can be poorly developed or completely absent. Lack of standard and certification. There are still no clearly defined and recognized standard to clarification in the regenerative tourism industry. This makes it difficult for tourists to recognize genuine regenerative practice, while both food producer and tourists can be confused in choosing reliable partners and offers. Resistance for local communities. Although regenerative tourism brings environmental and cultural benefits, there can be resistance from local communities accustomed to the traditional agricultural method and tourism. The transition to regenerative practice can raise a fear of loss of income, additional cost, or even loss of identity in terms of traditional lifestyles. the need for innovation. In order to successfully implement regenerative food tourism, constant innovation is needed, from introducing new farming and the food production technique and developing of new tourist experience. This innovation can be difficult to implement as they require creativity, investment, and willingness to accept a change. Changing tourist habits and expectation. Implementing regenerative tourism requires extensive education of both tourists and the local producer and the service provider. Changing all habits and understanding of regenerative practice can be a long process, as many tourism workers and the food producer may not have adequate education or resource to shift towards more sustainability practice. Adapting to the market. Tourists who are not familiar with the regenerative tourism may be skeptical of dietary changes and experience that do not meet their expectation of comfort of a luxury. It can sometimes be a challenge to create experiences that are both educational and entertaining without losing their commercial appeal. Regulations and political barriers. In many countries, laws and political often favor traditional or industrial agriculture, which can make it difficult to implement regenerative methods. Also, subside and ecological sustainable innovations are poorly developed in the same areas, which further create barriers for small producers who want to switch the regenerative practice. That's all for me. Thank you, Janja.
Thank you very much, Zvonimir, for that thoughtful and honest look into the key challenges and barriers we face when we're trying to build regenerative food tourism experiences. It's clear that while the vision is inspiring, the path forward requires addressing real obstacles on the ground, from funding and regulation to mindset and community involvement. But where there are challenges, there are also opportunities, which brings us to our next section, the Food Zone Incubator. This initiative was created to support innovation, empower new ideas, and provide a space for professionals and change makers to explore regenerative solutions together. To tell us more about how the incubator works and how you can get involved, I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, Maria Marquez Barragan, from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Cáceres in Spain. She will also host a guest who will present Food Zone Incubation Experience, María Teresa Pérez Martín, from Lugar Ideal de Descanso en Extremadura. Maria and Teresa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Janja. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Marquez. I'm a worker from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Cáceres, which is located in Extremadura in the southwest of Spain. The Chamber of Commerce is a public law body, which aim is the defense of the commercial and industrial interest of all the companies established in the province of Cáceres. And today, as Janja said, I would like to introduce the incubator methodology, which has been created in the project Food Zone. Okay. Well, so first of all, it should be said that the development of this incubator methodology is not seen as a final result of the project, but as a starting point for a more permanent incubator. This incubator methodology will take different shapes in the varied countries, depending, of course, on local context and target group leads. In this way, 7 experiences of regenerative food tourism are planned to be incubated, and those will connect the local production to this kind of tourism, to the regenerative food tourism, I mean, raising then the development of the society. So in order to properly complete the incubator methodology, it has been created different documents which are required to complete by the different companies which want to participate in the incubator methodology. And the first one is the SWOT analysis, which its purpose is to collect information from the company's environments, which and analyze it and separate it into internal factors, the strengths and the weaknesses, but also the opportunities and threats. On the other hand, we can find the regenerative business model canvas. We can see here the model we have created. This regenerative business model canvas is going to be very useful for businesses like such as agriculture, mining, fishing, or construction, to raise social and economic capital, but also to create value across entire value chains. And apart from the SWOT analysis and the regenerative business model canvas, the micro and the macro environmental, it is going to be also required to complete a one-pager document, which is just a summary of the product, or in this case of the project or idea, of this company, in order to ensure alignment and understanding among the stakeholders. The incubator methodology has been finished and has been completed by the companies, they will receive a certificate of participation from this incubator methodology. Now, I'm very, very glad to introduce our speaker guest, Maria Teresa Perez Martín, the CEO of Lidenex. She is, as you can see, she is a sustainable and smart cities expert, a trainer in sustainable tourism, consultant in sustainable development projects, and she is running a family-run business, which is very, very interesting. And I'm sure that she is going to be the best to explain it. So please tell us more about you, Maria Teresa, about your project, Lidenex. The floor is yours. But first, the first question I would like to introduce this part of the webinar is, do you consider relevant regenerative tourism nowadays? The floor is yours, Maria Teresa.
Thank you for this opportunity to join you. Thank you for this inspiring webinar, and thank you as well for all the information you have shared from my previous speakers. And I'm so glad to be part of this Food Zone project. Responding to your question, Maria, is it important regenerative tourism? Of course it is. I would like to recall what our previous speaker said, considering that regenerative tourism, it goes beyond sustainability tourism. It's the step further that we have to take in order to make our planet more sustainable and a human being more sustainable, of course, being beyond sustainability, but making this positive impact. I'm glad that you gave me the floor to explain you what are we doing in Lidenex. Lidenex stands for the ideal place to relax in Extremadura. This is a land in the middle of the meadows in La Dehesa Extremeña. La Dehesa is surrounded by holm oaks and cork oaks, and cork oaks gives the cork for the bottle of wines. So that is our link also for food, because and as well, the acorns that comes from the holm oaks are what they are fed for the pigs that gives the jamón ibérico in Spain. So if we have to preserve and conserve the land, and La Dehesa Extremeña is actually experiencing some threats, basically from different different causes. First of all, because of the seca, which is a disease that attacks the roots of the trees and hinders the trees to get the nutrition from the soil. Then this will weaken the tree that will be attacked by the very tiny insect, a black insect called Cerambyx, that comes into the trunk and start doing a labyrinth inside, and that makes the tree weakened and lose the strength to pass these long and hot summers that we are suffering lately because climate change. And said at the end of the summer, we are experiencing some of these very old trees, like over more than 100 years, that are dying very rapidly and very sadly. So what we are doing in our LeaderNext is that we welcome our guests, but we want them to give them the opportunity to make a positive, to give to, as the previous sentence said, to leave the place better that they found it. So they worked with us in reforestation. First of all, they come with us and they collect acorns in the ground that will be probably afterwards be selected and then will be replanted in the land. So they, of course, they know what we are doing, and of course they are working with us to conserve the biodiversity. We offer them also the possibility to plant the little trees that we buy in special places, so they can replant them in the land. And of course, they also can help us also watering the plants in summertime, because it's very easy to plant a tree. What is more difficult is to maintain the tree and to help the little ones to grow the first 5 years. So our guests, in summertime, after having dinner, they come with us and they water the plants, and they water the acorn and the cork oaks with water. In the meantime, most of our clients are from Northern Europe and from other countries, so they don't really know what is the Dehesa. So we provide them at the beginning, when they arrive, a very short information session made by our intern. We also receive intern. We make collaboration together with the University of Extremadura. So the information is provided by experts, not by ourselves, but by people that know perfectly what are the threats and what are the opportunities of the Dehesa. So the collaboration with universities and research center is also important in these sort of projects, not only with public administrations, private sectors, other people of the community, but also with research centers. So these information sessions are led by students that are studying forestry conservation or biologists, and also some professors of the University of Extremadura will come and explain our guests. What is the Dehesa? What are the threats of the Dehesa? What are the opportunity? What is the value of the natural capital of the Dehesa in terms of, for instance, carbon sequestration of carbon CO2 sequestration, or in terms of the value of the Dehesa in terms of biodiversity. and they will explain them. So they have this information, first of all, and then afterwards we invite them. Of course, if they don't want, they just can stay there and listen to birds. But they also they have the opportunity, and I can tell you they feel good. They feel good because they're doing something good while they're having their extra time, and when they're having their holidays. Some people are willing to give to leave a legacy where they have been doing the holidays. They want to make a positive impact. This is our objective while we implement regenerative tourism, is to provide our guests with the opportunity of making a positive impact in our land, in the land of Extremadura, and also at social level. So they afterwards, when they come back home and they open a bottle of wine, they will know that the cork stopper, where it comes from. It comes from the acorn of the cork oak, and then the cork oak will take 10 years to build the cork in the tree, and they will harvest it. So they will know, they will appreciate now the wine that they are drinking, because it has a special quality when they have a cork stopper. Or now when they're eating Iberian ham, they will know that their best Iberian ham comes from those pigs that are fed in the dehesas, eating the acorns. And we came up with this idea when we realized that it's not only the land, but it's also the sky that is above our heads. It's the tourism of the sky as well, because during the day you can observe birds. We are in the middle of the Natura 2000 site because of birds conservation, so we welcome a lot of bird watchers, so people that have a special sensibility towards nature conservation. And during the night, our guests can also observe the stars. We are part now of the network Starlight Foundation, and so we are also protecting our surrounding of the light pollution, so our guests also can observe and enjoy the beautiful Milky Way in summer's time, and also during the whole year. So this is a holistic view of how to manage an accommodation that it used to be an accommodation, but we are willing to be a little bit more than that, and to foster regenerative tourism in Extremadura. And of course, this food zone project with this incubator methodology give us the tools to realize some of our weaknesses, our opportunities through the SWOT analysis. And of course, we use this business model canvas as well, and that help us to organize in a paper where we want to go, what are our partners, and so on. So this methodology is very helpful for us, and of course, I guess for the rest of the people that are willing to implement regenerative tourism in their business.
Thank you very much, Maria Teresa. Thank you. Thank you for saying that it was very helpful, the incubator methodology for you. So I guess it's going to be for everyone who wants to make it. And just one more question, and is in relation to the Filipa's question to her guest. What kind of tourism do you have in? What kind of tourists do you have, national or international tourists in Lidenex?
We are working with international company, and we receive from Easter until end of October, basically people from Northern Europe. They are in the springtime, most of them ornithologists, and some of them, if they are not, they become, because when you're sitting in the porch of the houses of the Lidenex, you are amazed by the sound of the birds. So at the end, it's just for curiosity reasons, they become ornithologists by experiencing the sounds of the birds. So at the beginning, yes, but springtime is basically ornithologists. Then summertime we receive as well families for holidays with children. So we provide the children the opportunity to build hotel for insect as an activity in our to spend some time, in Lidenex. And we also provide them with the opportunity of guided tours in the dehesa. So we explain them the trees and, all everything that concerns the conservation. And at the end of the season, September, October, we receive mainly pensioners that are willing to travel outside the high season. So we receive, basically couples of pensioners that are willing to have some peace and to hear the silence. And then the rest of the year, end of October until beginning of Easter following year, we are open up to Spanish and other from other part of Europe, or basically it's national tourism, not only in weekends, but also we are now developing some thematic weekends and packages. For instance, well-being packages where we combine mindfulness, some yoga practices, and detox food. Then and that has a lot of success. This well-being tourism has a lot of success. There's also some weekends and weeks that we focusing on cultural activities. We had in January a weekend for writers and poets. So they came all together and they read all these text or poems that they have written about nature, basically, but also about human beings and well-being and so on. So during 5 months, because it's low season, it's hard sometimes to attract people in middle of November, January, February. So we are planning to provide the possibility of experiencing the dehesa in another way. So this is basically our clients coming to Lidenex.
Okay, thank you very much, Teresa. So if anyone wants to ask something, just put it in the chat, and I'm sure that Teresa will answer gladly.
Volunteer.
Okay. So Yanya, now
Thank you.
the floor is yours again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria and Teresa, for that great overview of the Food Zone Incubator and for showing us how innovation can be actively supported and scaled through collaboration, mentoring, and real-world testing. As we've seen throughout today's webinar, transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It happens through connection between people, between sectors, and between policy and practice. That's exactly what we'll be focusing in our next section: collaboration, community, and policy recommendations. 3 pillars that are essential for making regenerative food tourism not just possible, but sustainable in the long run. To lead us through this part, I'm happy to welcome Ula Alexandra Matel from Euracom in France, who will share key insights into how collaboration and supportive policies can truly empower communities and drive lasting impact. Ula, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Janja. I can move the thing?
I've just provided, yes, the opportunity.
Okay. Just
accept it, please.
Doesn't work. Okay. No, it doesn't work.
I can change the slides, it's okay.
All right, okay. So, first of all, it's been a pleasure to be part of this project for the past 2.5 years. Well, first of all, I'm project director at Euracom. We're a consultancy in the north of France. We work a lot with sustainable tourism in various ways, and have developed a strong focus on regeneration. This is also why we wanted to develop this project in the first place, because we really saw that there was a gap between definitely the access of the food producers to the tourism ecosystem. And we actually had our final event last week, and we could see that even though we have been working on this topic for 2.5 years, the problem was confirmed, and people were all excited about finally seeing these connections between food tourism and food producers and tourism ecosystem. And we know that this is only the start of actually working on the ground with these two groups and really making them connect them. On the first slide, you could see was actually the food of our last meeting that we had in the partners. And this was in Cyprus. So this is really sort of food zone food. Let's dive into the topic a little bit. So, I mean, we hear it all the time. Collaboration and community, co-design, it's all essential. It's at the heart of regenerative tourism development. I think what we really have to consider is, okay, for a food producer, they have to analyze where they find themselves within this ecosystem. So collaboration is also important in sustainable tourism. But the special thing about this approach is really that we have something really holistic. And if you are a food producer, you have to think about where are you in this system? Who are the people you're working with? What is your community like? And how can you connect with it in a better way? And that's also how you can find out what the benefits are for you and also for all the other stakeholders in the community, be they any type of partner. We will get into it in a moment. So you can change the slide. And of course, depending on the collaboration, you have various variables that you have to consider. We always hear about collaboration in regenerative tourism, and how important it is and how we cannot do without it. But we have to consider that in any case, cooperation is not always easy. So it's easy to say, yes, collaboration is indispensable. We need to all work together, community and so on. But actually setting these things up is not as simple as it sounds. And we read it everywhere, yes, collaboration. But yeah, it can be quite complex to actually do. It requires different levels of contribution and investments of the different partners that we work with or approach. There might be a risk associated to the collaboration that needs to be assessed. There is also the expectation of the actual process, how it will run, how it will work. What is the expectation of the business that wants to create an experience? What is the expectation of all the partners of the community of this experience? And actually finding out about these expectations also requires some work. It requires talking to these people, approaching them, understanding what their vision is of the community, for example, to identify where the shared vision is for something that could be created. And then, of course, there's always the financial aspect of things, where the financial benefits for the person creating an experience and for the others, for the partners. When we talk about regeneration, we often say, okay, the reason we're doing it is not for the money. We're doing it for the purpose. We're doing it because we really believe in something, because this is important, because this really has a positive impact. However, of course, even in regenerative tourism, as we heard also when we talked about the challenges and barriers, well, we can't really create anything unless it's financially viable. And there are a lot of people out there who do amazing things, but they struggle to survive. Quite frankly, they find it very hard to work only with local producers because of all the challenges, or setting up their own experiences or businesses, because there is this, we always have this discussion about the silver lining. Like, okay, you need to have it make it financially viable, which means like you need to have more people coming. But as soon as you have too many people coming, it's no longer regenerative and it becomes too commercial and so on. So it's this balance that we need to develop. And that has a lot to do with the collaboration, as you will see shortly. But depending on the collaboration, you also have the different short, medium, and long-term benefits that you can assess. It really depends on the partners you choose and the goals you have with your project. And it's not just about who is involved; it's also why they are involved in this partnership. We can move on to the next slide. So here we see it's not rocket science. We have all these different parties that are involved in the creation of an experience. And we need to keep in mind also all the vast amounts of types of experience we are talking about when we talk about food tourism. So we can talk about a festival. This can be a large-scale food festival or a small local festival, or just an individual experience organized by a food producer or a food transformer, and so on. So here you have, for example, we have public bodies, local regional authorities, agencies of various shapes and forms. The local food producer, which is actually the key in our project. We really focused on the small and medium-sized, I would say more micro probably than small and medium-sized producers. Then we have event agencies, tour operators, tourism experience developers who come more from the outside, food experts, and any professions linked to that, like chefs, journalists, nutritionists, and so on. SMEs, micro businesses of all sorts, education providers across all sectors. In France, we work a lot with vocational education and training. So this can include students, this can include the educators, but this can also be projects that actually run by schools to create new spaces. Various chambers of commerce, trades, crafts, agriculture. I would say what's very interesting here is the agriculture, because we only discovered a few days ago that there is a huge sort of really gap between agriculture and tourism, in the sense that agritourism hasn't even been considered being part of tourism. So we realized we need to do some advocacy and lobbying actually for the tourism sector to embrace agriculture more. And even though the agricultural sector is active in agritourism, this link is not actually visible or practiced, and no more needs to be done for this link to be created. And then we have other stakeholders, for example, artists, active citizens, press, even museums. We can put up a pop-up food event in a museum. Or, for example, if you look at restaurants like the one we heard today, there are restaurants where you have even the cutlery, the knives and forks, and all the things that you find in the restaurant that are made by local artists. So you have the art on the walls and so on. So a lot of things can be created by including all sorts of different players in the development of the experience. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, of course, how regenerative is an experience, how regenerative is actually the approach that we're taking in an experience. And it really depends on who is involved, in who is the initiator of this experience. Is it a bottom-up experience? So, for example, if we take this food festival I mentioned first, well, very often these festivals are funded by public bodies or other sort of public institutions. And of course, because they are the ones giving the funding, they're also the ones who are steering the actual content of this festival. And so what we find ourselves is that we very often need to convince, first of all, these people already about what regeneration is. They're not always aware of this. So we arrive at different levels of regenerative approach. So as we have established also as part of the project, there is no such thing as actually a regenerative experience. You can only have regenerative elements in experiences, and you can have a regenerative intention and an approach to the what you do. Then the level of regeneration really depends on the people who are involved and their vision and how they implement things in this project. I think, yes, we can move to the next slide. And so what is the potential then for regenerative tourism if you look at what we just covered? And I think we are really at this bottom-up process. It needs to be a bottom-up process. This is also why the community is so important. Developing an experience top-down doesn't really work. It remains superficial. So what we're really looking for is this passion. We have this passion in the producers. We have sometimes people who are using techniques that have been handed down generation to generation. They have a real passion for the product, for the produce, for the land, for the place where they live, where they are based. And those are usually the ones that are likely to have the most, what we call, regenerative elements. Quite simply, it's all organic, actually. It comes from themselves. It's not necessarily they come there and say, okay, we're going to make something regenerative. What could we do? What is it we should do? Usually it's a natural process by these people, and they are the best examples. And it comes from them. It comes from their heart. It comes from the place where they've grown up and the place they know. But overall, I mean, the collaboration, as I've mentioned before, it really depends on the type of experience that we have. Then is it a festival or is it just a small scale local food producer? And there, I mean, one of the reasons for the development of the project was also the realization that a lot of the experiences also that I saw, they were very standardized. It was like you go on a visit, you visit a producer, you do a tour for an hour, you learn about the story a bit, maybe of the place, of the producer, or of the product, how it is actually transformed, for example. Then you get to taste the product, and then in the end, you might even get to buy the product. But the question is there more we can do? And how can we help the producers together by bringing together with other stakeholders to create something that is more inspiring, that actually more reflects who they are and where they are, in a much better way. It's all there, but it needs to kind of come out, like the story needs to come out. And so the experiences are general, either place-based or product-based. As I said, okay, you're either focused on the place where something is produced. Is like, okay, where we are in the north of France, we have a lot of different produce. So there could be a place that specializes in beans, for example. And so this would be a product that it's really ingrained in this place because it's very known for this product. Or you have a product-based approach, for example, about a broader area. We have a lot of fish or fish transformation, for example, so this could be the product-based thing. But ultimately, when we talk about regenerative tourism, everything is place-based. Everything has to come from the place where it's grown, where it's produced, and where the people are from. And it's essential that this is this sort of, as it says here, also the shared values of the community. It's not just about the producer, it's really about what is the community like, what is the place like. And if a place is known for a certain product, there is a pride also in the community for this product. And it's important then that the community has the ownership also of this identity of the place that is linked to this product. Yes. Janja. Perfect. So the next thing I'm going to talk about briefly is co-design. So what we mean with this, it's just about bringing everybody together, all the different relevant stakeholders together to contribute to the development of a tourism offer or an experience in food tourism. And what are the benefits of this? It's really, as I mentioned, is that you're really 100% adapting the experience or what you produce to the local context and to the needs of the community and the place where you are. And then you have this profound link to the place and the needs and the preferences of the local communities. And it's also a way for food producers to go out there, to meet people, to say, okay, I would like to do this. What do you think? Can we work on this? This is a way to actually approach the tourism sector and say, okay, can we create a partnership here? And it's not just about promotion and marketing of my experience at the end. It's about creating a network, creating links that can benefit not only the producer, but the overall place and the community. And then what's really important in this co-design is that on the one hand, it's about the creation of the experience, but on the other hand, it's about the visitor. When he actually comes to experience this, whatever has been created, it's about he is part of this experience. He is also a co-designer, co-creator of this experience. And it will be different for everybody who does the experience. So that's also one of the reasons we say there's no really regenerative experience, because it depends also on the visitor. It might be regenerative for one, but it might not be regenerative for another visitor. So that's why it's tricky to talk about a regenerative experience. But the role of the visitor should not be underestimated, because the relationship between the visitor and the actual host or the experience giver, or however we call it, that is an essential element in creating a successful experience. How is this relationship actually between the two in designing the actual experience on the day it happens? Yes. So we already talked about the methodology for the incubator. This is just a very sort of straightforward scheme about the how. So how would we create an experience? It's very sort of simplistic in this way. It's a lot more complicated when we do it in practice, and it takes a lot of time. But how do we start? depending on who we are, how big we are, how many potential partners we are, where we are based, and so on, we identify the right people to work with. We approach them. We could think about a shared sort of vision or synergies that could be developed. And then when we create experiences, we look at the different seasons, of course, the cycle of the product in question. It has to be coherent. We need to make sure that the right people can participate. So when are they available, for example? We want to speak to all the senses. We want to make sure that the visitor actually can experience what the producer wants to convey, and that this experience is memorable. That it is something when the visitor leaves the place, he will remember, and he will also recommend to others to go and see. The transmission of the experience is crucial. And I think this is also where we talk about the skills in this project. For example, the storytelling. You might be a producer and be really good at what you're doing, but you might not be good at actually telling your own story. You need help. You need help to tell your story. You need help to identify how valuable it actually is, because a lot of producers might be quite modest. They do this every day. They've been doing this maybe for generations, but they don't realize how valuable all of this actually is and how many people are out there who could actually appreciate it. So this is something that they need to be sort of, that they need to be told, basically. And we need to raise awareness about this can actually integrating them and linking them up with tourism professionals can be helping here with this promotion also and the story. And then, of course, before we do something, we need to test it, adjust it, pilot it, and so on, all of that. But ultimately, what is really more interesting than this quite simplistic scheme of how you develop an experience is, it's still the previous slide, is the why in the headline. You can see the why. Why are we doing all of this? That's the more important thing. And the why is really what I mentioned. It's what is rooted in the place. And it's really about finding the essence of why we are doing this experience. And it's not about the money. It shouldn't be about the money, I would say. It's really the story, the purpose, and what is the vision. And then the vision has to be shared with the community and with those who are participating in this experience. Yes. So we already talked, I think it was Filippa who talked about the advantages of participating in developing experiences and so on. I only want to actually point to this last slide in the corner here, the box here, the purple box, which is about the local resilience. And this is really something that we need to think about in these times we live in. Climate change, increasing pressure on sustainability and actually financing available for sustainability in general. We need to be more resilient and actually collaborating and linking up the local ecosystem with this holistic approach. That makes us more resilient and that creates some kind of collaborative dynamic that can help in any kind of way, not just for the development of this kind of experiences. And it brings out the sort of local identity of a place that sometimes gets lost a bit these days because everything looks a bit the same. We have similar experiences here and there. So it helps us to stand out if we do something different. And we can then also support each other. And also, as we had earlier, the examples that were given today, it stimulates the local economy. And we have this sort of problem that a lot of people are fleeing the rural areas. I mean, it's not something that has reversed in any way. We have a big issue there. We have an under-tourism issue in rural areas. And this can help to stimulate the local economy and support these traditions that we have in these areas of the country. So this is the last slide I have to talk about the community, the collaboration. And the next thing is a bit of a different story here. It's about the policy recommendations that we have developed as part of the project. They are really linked to the challenges and barriers that were discussed earlier. So we studied those, which was very interesting for us. Or a lot of them we kind of already knew, but we needed to have them confirmed. And so, for example, here we have the training and providers and educators. I will go through this very quickly. Really, what we discovered is, well, there is not a lot out there in terms of regeneration. There are very few training programs, so we advocate for increased number of training programs. We want to integrate regeneration more in curricula across vocational education, but can also be higher education. We see that there is a lot out there to some extent, but that people don't have a unified sort of concept of regeneration, and we need to know, educators need to know what they're talking about, and they also need to be connected holistically to the ecosystem for this to actually work. Then we have other recommendations which are more for businesses and organizations. I talked about funding. It's about trying to find the right funding, also explore accessible funding for regenerative tourism initiatives. And then also we have an issue with evaluation, because it's very hard to evaluate anything that is regenerative, and we can't put it in certification or and so on programs. It's not something, because it's something that moves. Regeneration is always moving, so we cannot just put indicators on it, but we need to find out where the positive impact is. So we need to find tools to assess this impact. And then, of course, we need SMEs, DMOs, and businesses to engage more with communities, but it's clear from the things I said earlier today. And then the last one, just to finish, it's for public authorities, chambers of commerce. We need to advocate for more streamlined and supportive regulatory frameworks. The regulation is not on our side sometimes when we want to implement these kind of experiences. So it really depends on the type of experience. So this needs to be addressed. We need to provide incentives to create stronger partnerships between public authorities and local stakeholders, especially because we have so many top-down approaches here, where there is a top-down issue in general, and this collaboration can help, because we need to share this vision about regenerative tourism. And then we need to simplify access to funding information also, because a lot of people working on this topic don't actually know where to go to find some money. And as we know, one of the biggest things, we need to actually advocate for regenerative tourism in general. And here we talk about policymakers, but it is really a general thing that we need to advocate more for regenerative tourism, and actually explain to people what it is, and to make sure they understand what we're talking about. And I invite everybody to just look at this document that we developed, which actually is more detailed, where you can see the different issues that are addressed actually by these recommendations that I spoke about. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ula, for those valuable insights into the importance of collaboration, community involvement, and policy support. It's clear that long-term impact depends on all of us working together across sectors, regions, and roles. And with that, we're moving into the final part of today's webinar, a moment to bring everything together. I now invite you to join me as we take a look at the Food Zone Call to Action, our manifesto. It is a shared commitment to the principles we've discussed today and a practical guide for moving forward. Let's dive in. So this manifesto is more than just a summary of values. It's a pledge, a collective voice of all food zone partners, professionals, and supporters calling for a regenerative and inclusive transformation of rural food tourism. So why this manifesto? Because Food Zone is not only about ideas, it's about action. We believe in food tourism that restores ecosystems, empowers communities, and builds bridges between education, agriculture, food, and tourism. Through innovation, skill development, and collaboration, we aim to foster regenerative food tourism as a force for rural resilience and recovery. As you can see, the manifesto is built on 10 guiding principles, and let's walk through them together. First, we cultivate a regenerative mindset. Regenerative food tourism is still an emerging concept. Awareness is low, both among professionals and tourists. This is why we commit to education that promotes regenerative thinking and equips future leaders with the skills needed to create a better, more resilient tourism model. Second, we build multi-sectoral networks and partnerships. No one can do this alone. Training providers, tourism businesses, educators, farmers, we must collaborate. By creating strong networks, we enable the exchange of knowledge and resources needed for true systemic change. Third, we integrate regeneration into education. Regeneration needs to be part of the curriculum, not just an extra module. We are committed to embedding regenerative principles into professional and academic training to develop future-ready professionals. Fourth, we advocate for accessible funding and information support. Too many micro SMEs want to make the shift, but face financial and bureaucratic barriers. We call for more accessible EU funding, simplified processes, and stronger support systems at local and national levels. Fifth, we overcome resistance through community engagement. Cultural resistance can slow down innovation, but when we engage communities through dialogue, co-creation, and respect for tradition, change becomes not only possible, but welcomed. Sixth, we measure what matters locally. Standard indicators don't always capture what's truly valuable. We support locally tailored evaluation tools that highlight environmental, economic, and cultural benefits through stories, interviews, and qualitative insights. Seventh, we advocate for supportive regulations. Too often, outdated or rigid regulations stand in the way of innovation. We need policy that enables, not blocks. Regenerative practices must be supported through flexible and aligned regulation. 8, we call for stronger support from public authorities. Public authorities are essential partners in this transformation. We urge them to create incentives and structures that encourage regenerative tourism at local, regional, and national levels. 9th, we advocate for regenerative tourism in policy. Currently, regenerative tourism is underrepresented in national strategies. This needs to change. We call on decision makers to prioritize regeneration in tourism policy, planning, and funding. And finally, we stand against greenwashing. Superficial sustainability claims do more harm than good. We commit to transparency, to real impact, and to raising awareness about what true regeneration means. Recognition must go to those who walk the talk. Each of these principles represent an area where change is needed and where action is possible. So together, they form a roadmap for transforming rural food and tourism systems into something more resilient, inclusive, and future-oriented. We invite you, our guests, partners, and stakeholders, to join the movement, support the manifesto, share it, start conversations in your communities, your institutions, your businesses. Let's shape the future of food tourism together. For more information or to read the full manifesto, visit the Food Zone Project website or follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook, Food Zone. And before we wrap up this part of the webinar, we'd love to get your quick feedback. We're launching a short poll with the question, how relevant or actionable do you find the call to action? The poll will appear on your screen in just a few seconds. You can see it now, and you're kindly invited to answer. Just take a few seconds and share your opinion with us. Yes, many of you have already answered. You're also invited to continue. We will wait for a few more seconds, and then we will share results with you. It's anonymous, so don't be afraid. Okay, as I can see, no more answers are coming in. So I will end the poll and share the results with you. Most of you find this call to action very or highly relevant and actionable. Thank you very much for this feedback. Before we wrap up this webinar, I will check if there are any questions and answers. Questions, no questions posted. In case any one of you would like to post a question, you're very welcome to do so. Maybe a specific question to any of our speakers today or anything. You can also write it in chat or in this question and answer section. So far, I can't see any questions. With all that, we come to the end of today's Food Zone webinar. If there are no questions, I would like to thank you, all of you, for your time, your attention, and your presence today. We hope you're leaving this session inspired with new ideas, fresh perspectives, and perhaps even a stronger sense of possibility for what regenerative food tourism can become. As we've seen, real change starts with collaboration, knowledge sharing, and a willingness to think and act differently. Whether you're an educator, a professional, a policymaker, a farmer, or an enthusiast, there's a place for you in this movement. We warmly invite you to visit our website, food-zone.eu, or follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook to stay connected, get updates, and access tools and resources. Everything we've presented today is available online, free to assess, use, and share. Feel free to explore and implement it in your own context. If you're working on innovative ideas or want to co-create solutions in regenerative food tourism, the Food Zone Incubator is the place for you. Connect with like-minded professionals, mentors, and project partners to take your idea to the next level. This is your invitation to be part of a growing community that is redefining food tourism together. On behalf of the entire Food Zone Consortium, thank you once again for your participation, your energy, and your commitment. As we come to the end of today's webinar, we'd love to hear from you one more time. What key insights did you gain from the Food Zone webinar? I will post here this question. You can see it in a few seconds, and you can answer these questions. Again, they are anonymous, so feel free to answer them. This will really help our team to better understand. And your reflections will help us learn from each other. And of course, keep this momentum going beyond today's session. I invite you to collect your courage and share your insights with us. They are really, really valuable and help us all on this regenerative journey. And of course, again, let's stay in touch and let's make regeneration real. I wish everyone to have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining this webinar today. Thank you very much. Just for those who are still here on the online, the poll is still open, so your key insights are very welcomed still.
Hi, Anya.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Congratulations to all. It was very nice.
Thank you very much to all the speakers, to all the guests.
And thank you for hosting and for your wonderful job during these 2 hours.